Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond the Box podcast. I'm very excited today because the podcast, I've got a few more lined up, and I have a very, very special guest today for a number of reasons. First reason, um, Chloe is my first female guest, so I'm very excited to have her. And she's going to talk about many things about film, TV, table tennis, women's table tennis, her podcast. So just introduce my guest, Chloe Ireland. Chloe is a member of the table tennis community, a member of the film and TV community. Chloe works in television at the moment, and in my opinion, which is why I have invited her on the Beyond the Box podcast. Chloe is a very interesting person, so I'm really, really excited to get her insights on a number of topics. So, Chloe, what have I missed from the introduction? And I hope it's sufficient for a person
Oh gosh,
of
more than
your
sufficient.
fame and success.
I mean, first female guest, what an honor. I'll take that. That's brilliant. No, I think you've got it in one there. I think yeah, film, TV, and table tennis. That's basically that's my life, I think.
Fantastic. I don't do as much film in my life and TV, but I am actually a massive fan of film and TV. So I'd love to hear any insights that you have about that. So before we just talk about table tennis and influencing and Instagram culture,
Mhm.
have you seen anything recently on film or television that you think like that was really good or that was really crap?
No, well, the last film that I watched at the cinema was One Battle After Another, the Leonardo DiCaprio
Yes, yes.
movie. It's really good. I was actually quite surprised by it. I don't know what I was expecting going in. Like I like Paul Thomas Anderson
Hmm.
quite a bit. But this is like because he's got quite a quirky film style. I think he did Licorice Pizza. Oh, tongue twister.
I've
It was
heard
like
of
the
the
last,
film, but I haven't seen it.
yeah, I think that was the last one of his that I watched, and that was very different. So I wasn't really sure what to expect, and they like really kind of nailed like the comedy, the action was really good, the like political messaging. I don't think they went as far as they could with it, but it was really like it's an interesting film. I think it'll
What
do well at Oscars
what was
season.
the political bottom line of the film? Because obviously I've heard about it. There's been some controversy around the film, or maybe I'm imagining that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's about a revolutionist
Oh,
group
oh,
in America that basically in the it's set in modern day and they are, pulling quite violent stunts trying to break out immigrants from detention centers.
okay.
They're doing all of this like really, really loud, but with like fireworks, guns, like it's a kind of like a violent activist group. And the first half of the film kind of chronicles Leonardo DiCaprio and his partner's affiliation with that group, and then we do this big time jump to the wife. I don't think they were ever married, but the partner has
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
gone MIA. She's out of the picture. So it's Leonardo DiCaprio, his daughter, and they're kind of hiding from the military that's been trying to track them down through all of these years.
Mm.
And it's got in that second half some really good commentary about I don't know how to phrase this, but the kind of bureaucracy of socialism. So it's like it's got some like comedy in it where there's basically like a scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is like trying to like he needs a password to get to this meeting place or something, and it's this like some kind of um like revolutionary catchphrase or
Yeah.
something, and he can't for the life of him remember it. But he's like,
Hmm.
it's me. And the other guy's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
need the password. And then it like keeps on going up more and more people. So it's like you've got this like hierarchical structure within a revolutionary group. And it's like quite interesting commentary on that and like in quite a funny and entertaining way. I don't think I explained that very well,
No, no,
but you
I
need to
got it.
watch the
I
film.
I
It's
genuinely got
fantastic.
it. I don't know if the viewers got it, but I
I
genuinely
don't
got
know.
it.
You need to.
Um,
I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
You should give it
I might go to the cinema today and watch it. It is my day
go
off
for it.
today. You're not playing Senior British League today. I'm not because I don't play now. I play on a different date.
Hmm.
But you're not playing. You're not playing at the moment.
I'm a reserve. So
Okay.
I mean I play Women's British League and
Solid.
then I yes, and then which is on a different day. And then I am signed up for a Sippenham British League team because I live literally around the corner
Yeah, yeah.
from Sippenham Table Tennis Club. So if they need a person, then I'll appear. But I've never actually played a British League match, like a proper British
You
League
will
match.
do. You will
I'd
do.
like to like t test myself. I think it'd be a challenge, but I'd like to. So I'm just kind of waiting for that call to come. But they've got pretty solid teams, so I think I am the last resort if needed to make a three.
Well, in my experience of team management and as a professional coach, there's always something that is going to happen that makes players not able to play, and then the reserves get a chance. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Obviously, wish everyone well, but I think
Mhm.
you might get a chance. Just something tells me. Um, so we are in the same world of table tennis. We do different things, but we both play. But our roles in table tennis, I'm a coach. You are a podcaster, an influencer. Is that fair to say? You're an influencer?
I think so, even though the word influencer kind
So
of like
I did that.
sends
I
a
said it
shiver down
just
my
to
spine.
poke
I
you.
don't know if I like. I don't think I'm influential enough to be called an influencer. But my account has like 300 followers. I don't think that's an influencer
You may
level.
be. You may be
I mean,
more
I love what I
influential than you
do.
think.
I love what I do. It's a hobby for me, and I do it alongside having a full-time job and doing all of these other things. But I don't know if I intend it to be influential. It's still more of a hobby. But yes, podcast is correct.
Podcaster. So, um, I've got a question for you about. So you're a podcaster, bit like me right now. Um,
Hmm.
so a podcaster is in front of the camera, but you're also talking to someone, but it's front facing. But from what we've spoken about, Chloe, your job, you work in television, but you work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So in your job, you're behind the scenes, and in your hobby or influencing and podcasting, you're in the front of scenes. What are the different mindsets like?
It's actually quite a bit of a mental leap, I think, for me to be in front of the camera. I don't particularly enjoy it. I'm coming more like to terms with it now. I think I enjoy it more now. When I first started off doing the podcast and figuring out if there was going to be video or not, I did a I was trying to figure out if I was going to be in it or not. Can I just point it at the guest and not have me come into it at all? But I think you lose a level of connection and personality, when you do that. So I was like, well, I think, it's my podcast. I'm putting it out there. I think I do need to be on camera and part of it. I mean, this is why doing this is a little bit weird for me because I'm not used to being the one asking questions. I think at the base of it, I am a control freak. Honestly, I think if I'm in control of the conversation, if I'm the one that's putting together, I know that I'm going to go home and edit all of this footage. I know that I want to make the person I'm interviewing look good. I want to make sure that I come across well and that I'm understandable. And ultimately, I think I like having that level of control over what I'm doing. And that kind of translates to working behind the scenes, whether it be on short films or, I mean, to a lesser extent with my job. What I do doesn't really directly, well, it's a big part of the show, like the shows that I do, but there's so many moving parts in that machine that it's not solely on my shoulders in the same way that doing the podcast is. If
Hmm.
I don't get out of bed one day and don't edit the podcast, it doesn't get put out. Whereas, life moves on in the TV world.
What
Um,
shows do you work on at the moment, or are you not able to
I,
say?
I can say I work on Good Morning Britain and Lorraine
That's
predominantly.
that's quite big. That's very big.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, I've worked for them for about three years.
Very impressive. Very imp Do
Yeah.
you have an aspiration to go into film as well? Because I know you're a big film fan, or is television your direction for the next however long?
I don't know. I think like at uni, I always wanted to be more in the drama space. Like I've kind of started my professional career in the daytime TV
Hmm.
and news and that's all like really interesting documentary, all of that kind of stuff, which I do, I enjoy and I find it really fascinating. But I think I've always considered myself more of a creative person. I love writing scripts. That's like one of my hobbies. I like writing and imagining, when you've got like a song on and you imagine the trailer, like for the film that you're never
Hmm.
going to write. Like that's the kind
Which you
of,
are going to write because you got loads, obviously.
maybe I'll write it, but yeah, it's like that. That's kind of my what I get the most joy out of, like writing stories,
Hmm.
creating stories and content. I don't know. I think professionally, it is so difficult to achieve any kind of security working in film and drama because every work contract that you're ever going to get is a contract and it's only for a certain amount of months, however long the shooting's going to take. And I'm kind of at a point where I need to pay rent.
Hmm.
I've got other things in my life that I need to
Hmm.
be considering. I mean, I've been incredibly fortunate with my upbringing that I've been able to take these chances that have led to this job. Not everybody gets that
Hmm.
opportunity because I think you do need a little bit of financial stability in order to go for some of these harder positions. And that's a real problem within our industry that actually people who come from less privileged backgrounds do struggle to find jobs and positions because they don't have the cushion that would allow them to take a risk to
Hmm.
take that risky career step. So I've been very lucky in that. But I also think to then go into drama or film that is an even bigger leap, and I'm not quite sure if I'm confident enough to take it. But I think I want to be the person that makes my own stuff in the background. I think that's where I am in my career. That I still want to write. I still want to maybe make some of my own short films. I'd love to direct a feature one day, but I think if I do that, it will be off my own back, not necessarily working for other people because the money that you the amount of money that you have to juggle and the lifestyle that you have to juggle in order to make it all work, it's just not incredibly practical for me at the
Hmm.
moment.
Well, I know you mentioned that you think you might be fortunate in some respects to take that chance to go into the industry, but I think you still have give yourself credit because you've taken a chance to go into something that's not a conventional pathway, and you also have your own ventures and you have the aspiration to do certain potential ventures in the future. That takes a lot of guts and a lot of um, internal drive. So you should definitely give yourself credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a hard worker. I've always considered myself a hard worker. But then, when I say that, I mean, I know a lot of people that are incredibly hard workers that won't be able to take the
Mm,
opportunities that I've been able to take. So that's kind of more what I mean. Like, I do give myself credit. I think that, the jobs that I do, I want to do them well.
mm,
I've like really tried to upskill myself, like especially throughout college and uni. I've tried to learn a range of skills and things that would help me to take some of these jobs. And I'm not, picky about, taking opportunities that might not be directly on the path that I think that I should be on or anything like that. So I didn't go directly into drama. I saw an opportunity that I thought was interesting, and it was like I'm going to get my foot in the door this way and just see what happens. And it's actually kind of opened up a new pathway for me into something that I didn't really consider before uni or
mm.
things like that. So I think I can recognize that I've got a good set of skills while also recognizing that I have been very fortunate in the opportunities that have come my way and the chances that I've been able to take.
Mm. Sounds like you're very self-reflective and self-aware, which is great. I want to just move on to the next topic about um, the television world versus the table tennis world because you operate in different worlds. So obviously you have your job, but also some of the skills that you use in your job are in table tennis as well. So how does the TV world, which is a certain type of thing,
Mhm.
compare to the table tennis world? I mean, maybe they're really different, maybe they're really similar.
Oh, that's tricky. I think I view some of them, like for me, I do view them through quite similar lenses because with the podcast and with, what I used to do with Table Tennis England, I view table tennis a lot through a spectator lens. Like, how can we present this to an audience? How would
Mm,
this make good TV? Like, do you how do you make it popular in that kind of way? I think I do view table tennis through that kind of like dramatic lens. Like, what's the
mm,
story here? Like,
mhm.
what's happening between these two players? How did we get here? And what's the best way to present it to an audience? Um, but then I think, I don't know, table tennis has a much more important place in my heart. Does that make sense? Because I've grown up with table tennis. My dad played table tennis, still plays table tennis. My family's been very table tennis orientated. A lot of the people that have been lifelong friends in my life are people that I've known through table tennis. So when I'm like playing and when I'm on the table, that almost feels like a more sacred space.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's weird because initially I didn't really want to film any of my matches. I still I mean, when Women's British League this weekend, I didn't film anything. I didn't make any content for the podcast, and I didn't, and which I was a bit conflicted about because it's Women's British League and I want to
Mm.
run a women's table tennis podcast. Like, surely I should be doing something, and especially because there wasn't any streaming cameras at
Yeah.
WBL
What was that?
this time around. I think it's just because there's been a lot of events, like big events recently. They've only got so many personnel that they can send down to,
I
and
mean,
also that venue. I mean, have it being someone that has had to try and stream at that venue, it's a nightmare. Like the Wi-Fi wise, it's a nightmare. I
oh,
think we need to
Wolverhampton.
yeah, we need to find alternative ways of showing the matches. And
Maybe Table Tennis England could have asked some of the teams or the clubs to stream because at least that's some sort of content they could have asked them. I don't know if they.
I think I mean, we can come back to this later because this was a lot of what my job was within Table Tennis England. I think you do ultimately it does need to be if you're going to do it, then it needs to be someone from Table Tennis England whose job is solely
Mm,
doing the streaming and making sure that it's good quality. I don't think you
yes,
can rely on the club because also they want to play. They want to
that's
focus on
also true.
playing. The coach wants to focus on coaching. They want to focus like they don't want to be running around fiddling with the phone when the Wi-Fi is dropping off every 5 seconds. Like it's just a bit too much. But I mean, anyway, I probably should have made some content there, and I have done content in the past. But at the same time, I had a new team, a new people like new team, and I was really just enjoying being a player and being like part of that and that feels very separate in some ways. So there's a little bit of like conflict within me where I'm like I want to keep that separate from what I do, but at the same time like my media ambitions kind
Mm,
of revolve around me making
mhm,
stuff about
mhm.
that. So it's tricky.
I can relate. I can relate in a different way, and I hear you. Certain times in tournaments, because I'm a full-time coach, but I do play tournaments. When I'm at a tournament to coach, obviously it's really easy. I'm just coaching, but there are some tournaments where I'm also playing, and then
Mm,
players that I coach are also around, and then part of me is like they're struggling in this match, or they're doing really well this match. Let me go over there and so forth. But I'm also playing, and my energy reserves are limited. I'm
of
limited,
course,
and I need
yeah.
to give my best to my playing here because I'm here to play. So there is a conflict there. So I can relate. I can relate
I think
exactly.
it's also like it's such a big social event for me. Like Women's British League
Mm,
is like probably my favorite event of the entire playing calendar. Like and it's such the vibes are immaculate. It's such a good competition. You get to see people that you only really get to see once a year when the season comes back around. And I like from a social perspective, I really like just being part of a team. And, not everybody likes having a camera on them. Not everyone likes being filmed. And you want to get to know people and get to build up those relationships for me as well. And I don't want to necessarily have to build up those relationships with a phone between us. I want to make sure that we can have conversations and things without people thinking that I'm just trying to mine content out
yeah,
of them. So
yeah.
it's hard because there are some people that I've only really interacted with through that with me asking them if they'd do a quick interview and things like that. And I know some people really don't like it. Um, but at the same time, we want to promote the sport, we want to promote the women's side of the sport. So
Mm.
it's tricky. So I don't know. I think next weekend I maybe will do something, but I'm going to try and keep it low key because at least now I've been able to, bond with my team a little bit. I think we've got a really great team in Div 5 this year. We're Halton 3, and it
Yes, I
was
think I knew
it
that.
was a really fun first weekend, and we were playing well as well. So
How did you
uh,
play? You played well?
yeah, I played
Great.
well.
Nice.
I'm the number one player in our team, which is I don't think is
Big shoulders.
I
Big
think
shoulders.
ranking wise that's accurate, but I don't think skill wise that's accurate. Um, because we've got Grace Williams from Para, she's also in our team, and I think technically she is our strongest player, but she's from Wales, so I don't think the
Is she number
rankings.
2 or 3?
She's at 2.
Sometimes, I mean, it can work in your favor
It
if
can, and to be fair, she's not dropped as many matches. I've dropped a couple of matches. I think I'm on 50% because the
that's
the,
very
the the
good at.
hardest the 1v1 matches were
Mm.
tricky. And
Yeah.
then I usually beat the slightly weaker player. But there were a couple of players where I have beaten them before and I lost to them, which is
Mm.
always so frustrating. But yeah, I think I played well.
Mm. So, every person has their table tennis story, and has their. I think deep down we all have a ambition for the sport and what we want the sport to be. So,
Mm.
just tell me briefly about your table tennis story and kind of where you want the sport to be.
It's a big question. So my table tennis story starts with my dad, which a lot of people know my dad. He works at Table Tennis England in the Northwest, and I started playing when I was about 4 years old. My granddad had
Wow.
an attic room, and my dad set up this like little, like a little mini table, and I started playing on a mini table because I couldn't see over the big one. And we went up table sizes. So we started on a mini one, and then when I got a little bit bigger, he had like a slightly less mini table, and then we got to a full size one eventually when I could do strokes. And he said if I could do 10 forehand and 10 backhand, then I could come down to Blackpool Club. So when I was able to do 10 consecutive forehands, 10 consecutive backhands, then I started going to the club, Blackpool Table Tennis Club. And it's split into two sides. So you've got the beginners side on one side and the big kids side on the other side. And there was a coach there, a legendary coach called Bob Wood. And I think Bob Wood probably coached every single person in the Blackpool League at some point. He was an older gentleman, and everybody knew who Bob Wood was. And everyone started their table tennis journey training with him. So he would teach you the basic strokes. We had this thing called the 50 Club, where if you could do 54 hands, 50 backhands, you got in the 50 Club. You
I
didn't get
like that.
anything for being in the 50 Club. It was just like a woo, like
Mhm.
people got really excited. So I remember the day that I did that. And there were, players would like come up and like have like a little cheer.
Might use that
Um,
actually. I quite like that. That's quite
Not the
a
50
good
Club.
coaching
Yeah,
tip.
yeah, yeah. You need like a bag of sweets or something for the 50 Club. We never got anything, but it was just like, you felt really good when you
Yeah.
could do that. And then once you started getting a little bit more consistent and you started playing matches and things, then you'd move from one side of the hall to the other side of the hall. And it was really quite a good incentive because when you're on the early side of the hall, you could see the big kids playing on the other side, and you wanted to be over there because
Mm.
it looked really impressive. They were always doing these big shots, these big drills and things. So
Mm.
as a young person, you're kind of like looking over there and you're like, I want to play with them.
Yeah.
And there were also a couple of girls playing at the time. Emily Ross was probably the most prominent at the time. So, I could see her play, and she was so lovely, and I just like, oh, I want to play with her. We also had Kelly Sibley, not Kelly Sibley, Katie Parker.
Yeah.
Katie Parker, who's Jill Parker's daughter. She
Mm.
was a coach early on at Blackpool Table Tennis Club, and she'd come down every so often, and I just thought that she was the best thing ever, as a young girl. She really like took the time, took me aside, did a bit of one-to-one. I think that she really helped me to catch the bug because I think it's difficult when your dad's also your coach. I think it can go one way or the other. And
Yeah.
for me and my dad have a very good relationship. I think we've done very well in that regard. But I think you need other coaches, and especially, being a young girl, like having a female coach that had also been playing at that high level, taking an interest in you, taking the time with you. I think that
Mm.
really meant a lot to me. Um,
It seems
so
that
kind of,
table
I don't
tennis
know.
is such a, at the moment, it's everything or a lot of reasons why people play is through grassroots interactions. So many stories,
Hmm.
what you're talking about, we talk about amazing individuals or amazing small communities that got us in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Blackpool Table Tennis Club is it's always going to be my club.
Mm,
All of the coaches, I kind of like, I joke that I've, grown up with a lot of table tennis aunts and uncles because that's what it really feels like. It is a proper family
mm,
dynamic. And, I've
mm,
I've got, blood family in table tennis, but I also feel like I've got table tennis like chosen family as well, that are just people that
mm.
I've grown up with. They've known me since I was about, 4 years old, kind of coming through. So that, those people mean a great deal to me. Um, and then for the second half of your question,
Yeah,
where
it's a
would I
huge
like
question. I
table
don't know why
tennis
I
to
asked it like
be?
that.
Oh gosh, it's such a big question. Where do I want table tennis to be? Do you mean like in the UK or worldwide? Like what are the parameters?
Let's start a bit smaller. Where
Uh-huh.
are we going wrong in UK table tennis? Where do we need to be?
Oh gosh.
And this question has never been asked before in the table tennis podcast.
Never
Never ever,
before.
of course.
Yes, I think we're quite fractured, and I think there
I'm gonna
needs to
write
be
that
some.
down. That's a great word.
I think there does need to be some efforts to try and mend some of the bonds that have been broken.
Oof.
Um,
Wow, wow, wow. Sorry, I'm quoting
because
this.
because I just think, like, that there are some like
We
there are
need to
some things
heal.
that I just, yeah, that like I think that there needs to be some outreach into the clubs, into the communities, to try and help build up relationships between, not just between clubs, but also between clubs and the governing bodies and things like that. Everyone needs to understand what everyone's working with and limitations, because I think we've got, different sides that are basically hitting their head against a brick wall, but not quite fully understanding
Mm,
why something isn't working the way that it should. And I think honestly communication is the key, but some of those communications have just broken down to a point where, nobody wants to hear anything from anybody, which is not a conductive space. And some of the things are like so old as well. Like, we don't like something because this person said something 10 years ago.
okay.
And there are
Okay.
some grudges that I think that exist within the table tennis world that we need to try and think about
Hmm.
mending and chilling out over
Hmm.
and just trying to work together. And I know that's easier said than done. No, there are personalities that clash. I completely
Hmm.
get that. Not everybody is gonna want to work with the same people.
The thing is,
I
everything you're
understand.
saying, I intuitively understand, but although I work in a sport and I'm a full-time coach, I'm
Hmm.
quite young and so forth. I'm not that privy to all the politics that go on, so it seems quite vague to me. But that's good. That's good.
I'm trying to keep it vague because I
Yeah, 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 I
I
fully
I
get
don't want to
that.
throw anything under the bus.
No, of course you shouldn't.
I
But kind of, so I really appreciate that and I get that. I've written it down. But from a more let's say, what can individuals, what can
Mhm,
individuals, you and me, or Bob or Sally or whoever, what can we do more?
mhm.
What can we do more, first of all, individuals, to bolster the sport?
Sponsor the sport. I mean, I think we do need to utilize social media. I
Mm,
think that's going
mm.
to be the backbone, and a lot of that has started happening. Like, there are so many
Influencing.
people. Yeah, a little bit, I think, in your own way. I think the more people that are talking about how amazing this sport is and sharing what it is that they're doing, the more general discussion that's happening around it, the more of an online community we create. I think that will organically grow and help boost the sport as well. And I also think just discussing matches, I think, like, young players are not watching table tennis, and we need to start trying to encourage them to switch on. Like, talk, what are your favorite international players? Who are the people that you follow? I find it especially in the women's game. Sometimes I'll ask, younger girls like, "Oh, who's the women's
Oh
number one in the
yes.
world?" And they don't know.
Oh my
And you're
God,
like,
that's so true. That's so true. I can really relate to that.
so I think, we need to talk about who are the stars, who are the different styles. What it's like, oh, you play like this player. Why
Mm,
don't you have a look at this YouTube video?
yes.
Start to create a fan base, a young
Mm,
fan base around table tennis, because otherwise these things are gonna die out. And it ultimately, when it comes to helping the sport to create money, one of the biggest things that you can do to support right now is actually watch the content. Watch the content, watch WTT matches because those views turn into ad revenue. That ad revenue goes back into the sport. Whatever your politics are, I think if you enjoy table tennis and you want to do something to actually help increase the sport, the best thing you can do is watch, even if it's just putting it on in the background, but watch it, talk about it, share it with young players, and I think that will help ultimately the growth of the sport.
mm. Okay. By the way, that I love that answer. I thought that was great. And I'm definitely going to take that into my own coaching, like talking to players about the mainstream of the sport. And I love the idea of saying, "Oh, you play like this player. You
Yeah.
should check." That's great. I think that's a
It's like you'll
really
like
smart.
this game, or like have a look at this person, what
Mm,
they've done. Did you see the match? Like
mm,
even just like we talk about football.
mm.
We're like, did you see the match on blah blah blah? And
Yeah.
and and I think we can start talking
Yes.
a bit more like that.
Hmm.
It's so accessible at the moment. All of those matches are on YouTube, especially in the UK. If you want to watch European matches, they're free to watch on ETTU TV. You don't even have to log in. You can just watch them. YouTube has all of the WTT matches. England matches are starting to be more on YouTube as well now, which I think is a big victory. The Prem Division matches and things like that. Just start talking to people about the games that you watch, about the players that you enjoy watching. Something that I try and do with the podcast. I always try and highlight individual players because the way that I don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of table tennis, but I will follow the careers of certain people who I find interesting or who I like the style of. So if I've got players that I'm really excited about, then I'll tune into their game. I might not watch the whole tournament, but I'll tune in to watch their quarterfinals match or whatever it is. And I think, if you are able to do that a little bit more, then that will help increase the popularity of the sport. And how many people's For You page, it's all about algorithms. The more you can watch, the more that will get pushed into other people's algorithms.
Mm. Fantastic. We only got about 5 more minutes.
Hmm.
So, um, table tennis in 2025, beg your pardon.
Hmm.
Um, the world is changing, culture is changing. So, in order to take table tennis into the mainstream, I would say the people talking about the sport, the people um, dictating or building a narrative around the sport should try to understand 2025 culture. Do you agree with that? And what does that mean to you, 2025 culture, and how can we convert all of that into table tennis delivery?
Oh, another difficult question.
Well,
2025
I
culture
ask
is.
very difficult questions.
Oh,
Sorry.
I mean, 2020, what is 2025 culture? I think like all of these things are so transient, right? Like especially when you're talking about online pop culture and things like that, things move so quickly. I don't think it's easy to pin down a 2025 culture. I think we'll look back on things and remember them being from the year 2025, but it'll be like certain memes and things. And some things you won't be able to place at all because it's, the AI slop internet. It's so difficult to actually archive and trace parts of the internet and what that pop culture moment is. In terms of table tennis, I think we are starting to do a little bit more of that. Like people are starting to use the internet a little bit more, talking about, how we can increase the sport. But I think we have to start trying to bring that into real life, trying to bring that into, live experiences. How do people want to watch table tennis when they're in the room? I think is something that we have to take a little bit of a look at in terms of how we turn that around for a modern audience. Because I think live experiences are becoming a really big thing. in a digital world, I think people do actually want to get out the house and come and watch a sporting
Mhm.
event and things like that. So how do we present that in a way that's really um, consumable for people, not just people who love table tennis, but the people who've never seen it before? Because I think that's maybe the little disconnect. Like, we have people who love table tennis who will like really eat it up and they will come and they'll watch a match and they will understand everything that's going on. I think when you're new, it looks like this is the most interesting thing I've ever seen from really, really far away, and I can't tell anything that's happening because it's a
Yeah,
tiny ball
yeah.
on a
You
tiny
don't know what's
table.
going on.
Like, yeah, exactly. So it's like, how do we film that in a way that is going to be consumable to people watching online, but also how do we elevate the performance for people that's in the room? And I don't know, I think we need to experiment a little bit. I think some new different camera angles, experimenting with maybe having audio guides or something so you could hear the commentator while you're sat there. I don't know, like I feel like there's some fun things that you could have a go at, but all of these things cost money. So I think it's going to take somebody maybe doing a crazy like show tournament or something for us to really be able to experiment and see what's possible in that kind of space. But I think we do need to maybe get a little less stuffy with how we present table tennis to an audience that's in the room. I think in a way I'd like to see it go the way of darts. I think that there is, the way that we present darts to a live audience, that kind of atmosphere. I would love to see maybe a table tennis competition that follows that vibe and see where that goes. I think that could be really fun because the whole like, I mean, World Ping Pong kind of did a similar thing, and I think we could see some events maybe going in the direction more of what World Ping Pong was.
Amazing. We are literally 30 seconds left. So just to summarize all your words, Chloe, um, I've got uh, build bridges, outreach, listen to other perspectives, be pragmatic, and mend the bonds that have been broken. What an amazing perspective. Thank you very much for coming on my podcast today. I have to speed up because we are going to lose
Yeah.
time. But it's been really, really amazing to talk to you, and we may do it again. Thank you very much.